Let's welcome Ms. Nirupama.
Thank you, Shalina. A very good afternoon to the judges, jury members, and my colleagues. We are 5 good presentations down, with a few more to go. And as of yet, we haven't had a single power cut. I feel extremely fortunate to be here, to have been guaranteed 0 power cuts by the technicians backstage. Growing up, I wasn't so fortunate. I'd always equip myself with rough sheets and pencils, a glass of milk, and numerous candles before I sat down to pull all-nighters to study. Why? Because a power cut was certain. The constant whir of the generators often made me think, India needs a clean and stable source of energy. The scenario hasn't changed much, and even today, production of power cannot keep pace with its consumption. Did you know that only 9 out of 29 states in India have been officially declared as adequately electrified, despite the allocation of 15% of the federal funds to the power sector? About 60% of India's power production relies heavily on coal and lignite. India imports 3/4 of its crude oil, and the bill accounts to 37%, which is $103 billion. Now that's the amount you'd have to own 6,52,400 Jaguars. Now all of these factual reports make me wonder, how could India develop a clean and stable source of energy? Through many terms in school, this question kept coming back to me. And now, in my 4th year of college, I am inspired by a concept that I feel India should embark upon. The concept is that of space-based solar power. The concept is space-based solar power. The pie in the sky, as you might have noticed, is a solar panel mounted satellite orbiting the Earth in a geosynchronous fashion, as opposed to terrestrial solar panels, which are subject to the whims of seasonality, night and day cycle, gradients and variance in latitude. Space solar power makes harnessing energy 24 hours a day, 365 days a year possible. The model which has been proposed to be sent out into space follows the principle of biomimicry. Now what is biomimicry, you might ask? Biomimicry is an approach to innovation that seeks solutions by emulating nature's time-tested patterns and strategies. Similar to how sunflowers track the sun throughout the day, these solar panels will have large reflective mirrors, not tethered to the solar panels, enabling it to move in accordance with the sun's position and beam down all the electricity to the solar panels. Now you might say it's not electricity, but well, that is what we're aiming at. The solar energy is going to get converted into electricity. Now, has it been done before? Well, the Japanese Aerospace and Exploration Agency now has a technology roadmap that suggests a series of ground orbital demonstrations which will lead to the successful implementation of a 1 gigawatt commercial satellite. Now the output is same as that of a nuclear power plant. And why solar space power, you ask? because we're not even talking about nuclear waste. Out of all the aspects pertaining to it, the one of wireless power transmission seems the most daunting, right? The DC current generated in the photovoltaic panels would be converted to microwaves through means of klystrons and magnetrons, and then be beamed down to the earth to a receiving station. And to coordinate all of these, the ground station would be sending a pilot signal to the satellite, on reception of which the microwave beam would be transmitted. In the pursuit for an optimal model, JAXA has come up with a square panel measuring 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers in dimension, which is suspended by 10-kilometer long tether wires from a small bus. And this small bus is going to house all the satellite's controls and communication systems. Using a technique called gravity gradient stabilization, a balance of forces is achieved through which the satellite is maintained in a stable orbit without the use of active altitude control, saving millions of dollars in fuel costs. If today's gloomy economic conditions make space solar power seem outlandish, it is worthwhile to remember that the US commercial aviation sector was born amidst the Great Depression. The Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, has added a feather to its cap with Mangalyaan, as my friend here elaborated. It is time we add another feather to its cap with space solar power. The technology that we require is already here. We just need to put on our thinking caps. It would require entrepreneurs and engineers to kickstart the public-private process required to tap this massive energy ball, the massive fusion reactor in space. In conclusion, I would like to quote the words of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam with regard to space solar power. What better vision can there be for the future of space exploration than participating in the global mission for perennial supply of energy from space? Thank you.
Yeah, that was a very good presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Couple of questions I had.
Yes, sir.
What is the order of conversion efficiency which you have on board in the space platform? You are in the geosynchronous platform.
Yes, sir.
So what do you think is the conversion efficiency when you have a 1 meter solar panel directly, with the solar rays impinging on that, compared to what we have on terrestrial Earth, ground Earth?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any figures on that?
So, answering your question, I don't have exact proper figures to answer it. But one point that I'd like to highlight is the intensity of solar radiations is maximum in space. So we need, now when you're talking about combustion efficiency, as far as I have searched, and read all the reports by JAXA, Japanese Aerospace and Exploration Agency, which is spearheading the process currently, I haven't found a detailed report on the combustion studies. But from what they have, from what they're concentrating on installing a big grid of 2 kilometer by 2 kilometer, and they are trying to minimize the number of solar panels that will have to be sent out by use of reflective mirrors. Now, another thing that it overcomes is in the geosynchronous orbit, the satellite is orbiting the Earth, and at some times it might not be able to face the sun directly, and there itself is one black dot on your idea, and it makes it no better effective than terrestrial solar panels. So for that very reason, we have the large reflective mirrors which are not tethered to the solar panels, so they can move in accordance with the sun's position. It is an elemental idea which is still under progress and detailed research.
Yeah. How much of real estate do we have to invest? Because you're sending down microwave energy. So you've got to protect that area where you're going to receive that.
Yes,
Okay?
sir.
Subsequently, then to do the conversion.
Yes, sir. True.
Okay?
True.
So you've got to going through a whole lot of process. Right from this raw DC energy, get back into microwave, again convert that back. So have you looked at that overall process?
Yes, sir. Now, right now, what
And also the real estate you've got to invest. You've got to have the size almost of a football field or something.
Yes, sir. True.
to
True.
Get all this
True,
energy
sir.
back.
So what has been suggested is having a station positioned in the waters, so that it isolates the surrounding from manpower. So it is just that particular area which is beamed down, which is affected by microwave, not affected as in nothing, so that nothing comes in the way of those microwaves, because it does exceed the limit of tolerance by humans by a certain extent. So to further enhance the safety measures, it is when the development will start of this particular concept, they plan to keep it somewhere in the waters so that it is isolated well from population. And again, when it comes to microwave, the other solution that was suggested was laser. And laser is again, it falls ineffective because in cloud cover and atmosphere, when it's crossing the atmosphere. So microwaves. So that is how they plan to do it. And recently, JAXA has been able to beam microwaves for a distance of a few kilometers, and they are trying to increase the range. It is just experimental studies that are going on, and I feel if we all put in our resources into it, we would be able to get somewhere. Yes, sir.
No, the presentation was good. This solar power panel, about 30-40 years we are using in the earth. And from the earth itself, we are not able to even take very less percentage of power only we are able to do. And the cost is, when you compare to the satellites and other things using everything, and the period. Because the life of a battery or solar power plant is 10 to 12 years. Here, we don't know what is the age or time also it can serve for us. So costly and so very less power you are going to get. What you are not able to take it from the earth surface itself, you are going to the space. What made you to think like this? Because cost-wise it is not effective, technology is very high, and even though we have 10 months in a year with solar power, we are not able to tap it. So what is your call on it?
So answering your question, there are 3 points. First of all, the solar panels on terrestrial ground, they are blocked by seasonality, night and day cycle. In the nights, we are not able to process solar power. And also, in different areas of the earth, the sunlight falling is different. So that is one major drawback of solar panels on earth, and that is why we decide to send them to space. Now coming to the cost, according to a study done by US Department of Energy, let us compare it with a competitor, say nuclear power plants. The capital cost is more than nuclear power plants for space solar power. But considering it on a longer run, the variable costs come down significantly for space solar power as compared to nuclear power plants. All right, thank you.